All right, here we go. It's good morning. I love me Wednesdays. I love every day. I mean, I must be in a good mood today. I hope yesterday was awesome. Hope tomorrow is even better. Twice, 5 times as good. Let's go for it, right? 10 times. But we're going to talk about today, how to win today. I got a good one today, I think. At least I like it. So if you don't, too bad. But we're going to talk about it. How to win the day. So yesterday must have been the day before. Okay, anyway, the day before, I was coming out of the office. Our office shares an office with the main Keller Williams office here in Destin. I was coming out of my office and I hear my name. I think it's my name, but it's John. Could be one of 10 different people in any room at any given time. It's a very common name, right? John. And, I don't really pay attention to too much. I'm kind of in my own world, but I hear this in the back of my head, and I turn, and sure enough, it was one of our agents, and she was with this guy. And she's like, John, I want to introduce you to, I'll just use his name, is Ted Johnson. And I'm looking at him, hey, Ted, how are you? And then she said, no, it's Ted Johnson. I'm like, oh. And the reason why it's a thing is I had been talking to this guy on the telephone, never met him in person, but I've been talking to him on the telephone for, over a year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years even, a while. He's a buyer. We actually sold his house. One of our agents sold his place, and he was disappointed once it sold. I mean, he got a ton of money for it. He was happy as heck with that. But then he had no place. And it turns out he had a hard time finding a place, and now he wanted to buy back in. But of course, the prices had jumped a gazillion dollars, right? So, but he was looking, and he called me because I got the lead one morning. And I went in my script. Where do you want? How big? How this? How much? When? Why? What? All this stuff, right? And so we got talking, and he told me a story how we helped him sell, and then he wanted to buy back in, and he got all this money, but blah blah blah. I said, you know what? Just go ahead and wait. Give it some time. I think the market's going to turn. Give it some time. He's like, well, I don't know how much time I got. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Turns out he's 87 years old. And I'm like, well, you better buy now. Don't buy green bananas, right? All that stuff. And I mean, we're so I turned him over to our buyer agent. I sent him back to our listing agent, who they got together, and the buyer agent took over because that's what our buyer agents do. Our listings list and buyers buy. But so over this time, he'd been looking at properties and not making offers and complaining about pricing and everything. And he'd always call me, and we would talk and do whatever. And then I finally heard he's under contract. I was like, holy cow. And then just this week, I was introduced to him, face and name, and it was really kind of a cool moment. But that's not the story here. The story is after all this stuff, right, and the giggles and the talk of everything, I asked him, all right, so is everything cool, right? And he said, yeah, there's some things that need to be repaired. I'm like, okay. And then, but they both said, but it's as is. And, but I want them to do it and pay for it. What should we do? I could tell he was feeling some pressure. He wanted this stuff fixed, and he didn't want to have to pay for it, and all that stuff. And I'm just looking at him going, easy. Ask for him to do it. Mm-hmm. And he's just looking at me like I just said, some magic, open sesame type of thing. And I'm like, just ask. And then, he just was looking at me. He's like, well, what if they won't do it? I'm like, I don't know. What if they will? Ask. And if they don't, well, then we'll create a strategy on what to do then. And he just lit up again, like, oh, okay, everybody took the weight off of me. And let's just ask. Right? Which leads to lesson number 1. Ask. Yes. Ask, right? Well, you don't know if they'll do it, but it's as is. Oh, well, whatever. It's an $800,000 purchase. They got a lot at stake on this by not doing it. There's 800,000 reasons to do it. So ask. You don't know, right? So that's lesson number 1. Ask. Lesson number 2 in this thing is be the calming influence. Buyers can freak out, sellers can freak out, owners can freak out, people can freak out. The person looking back at you in the mirror cannot freak out. You got to be the calming influence. It's as is, but they got to fix it or else I'm not buying it. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can, let's just ask and see what they say. Okay, cool. Well, we'll get it worked out. No big deal. But so many agents jump on, oh, I know, they better fix it. It's their fault. They got blah, 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 blah. And you just, the pressure and the tension just climbs, right? Which is what, but like with this guy, I'm like, all right, well, let's ask him. Let's give them a chance to do it. And if they don't, well, there's something else we'll do. We'll come up with an answer. Otherwise, we're going to drive ourselves crazy. And then maybe they do it. So why? So yeah, be the calming influence, okay? That's a big thing. If you can figure out how to do that, because there's a million things that are going to happen in a deal that are going to try to undo a deal. Make sure you're not one of them. Okay? Make sure you're the glue that holds it together. And you can hang up the phone, you can leave the meeting, you can do whatever and start screaming and throwing stuff. Just don't do it in front of the client. All right? And be the calming influence to everything. And in these deals, I have found that almost everything tends to work out. Like the balled up thing of string, you just kind of pull on it and let it do its thing. It unwinds itself. Every now and then you gotta get in there and chew on it and take it apart. But most of the time, those things just undo themselves. The problem is in your own head, right? It's in their head. And when it goes from their head to your head, it really gets weird. So make sure you're the calming influence, because you'll go from not your calming influence into them, and they'll start breathing again, and they'll move forward, and they'll be fine. Almost always they will be fine. Now, sometimes you're going to have to do some magic. That's the way it is, right? That's why you get paid the big bucks. But the real reason why you get paid bucks is you're the one that can breathe in an emergency, okay? You don't want your doctor freaking out. They cut you open. Oh, my God, look at this. No. You want somebody to go, huh, look at that. Cool. And keep going, right? You want the other people, oh, my God, it's a bleeder. Look at all the blood. Pass up, right? Like every husband in a birth, right? You want the doctor to say, oh, yeah, look at that. That's pretty cool. Nurse, give me 8,000 sponges, whatever, right? So be the calming influence. It's going to work for you, all right? So, Mark, tell me about this. You've been around a minute. You run into this from time to time?
Oh, constantly. And I always say the number one job of a realtor is to manage your emotions first, and then managing your client's emotions.
Not always easy. Not always easy.
No, it's not. And sometimes you've just got to, not put on your band roll on and not let them see you sweat. And it's the best description is if you've had a child who's run up the driveway, fallen and skinned their knees, your heart is hurting because you love that kid, but that's part of childhood. And if you go, or a toddler who's learning to walk, if you go, when they fall, they freak out. Your job's, it's okay. We got this.
Yeah, right. They react to your reaction. No doubt.
Completely. So just lay that. And I want to go back to what you said on asking. We project in our mind, usually the worst case scenario, when really what's super helpful is just ask. I've got agents that they are wanting to, they're wanting a little bit better commission. And I say, ask. But what if they do? I like what you said, but what if they do? And what I look at, and I always tell the agents, I said, look, if you get 0.5% 6 times, and you ask 50 different transactions, and only 6 say yes, that's an extra deal. That's an extra 3% deal just by asking. Get good at asking.
For sure. If you're doing an as-is contract, you better be ready for the ask.
And prepare your sellers when you get the as-is to say, this doesn't mean there won't be any asks.
Let's talk about the other side. They can always ask, and you can always say no. You say yes, right? Oftentimes, you might want to wait. This might even come back to your NAR thing on how much you're asking for commission or whatever. You might want to wait before you tell or before you ask until you understand what the rules are and what the game is, right? Why ask for 2 if they're going to give 3? Right? Or why give 3 if they're only asking for 2? Or why offer repairs if they're not asking? And this goes to information too. Don't give everything if they're not asking, or if you're in a listing appointment or any type of thing, when you get a yes, shut up. Because anything more might turn into a no. You're going to do something. There's all kinds of reasons why this comes into play.
Yeah, and the cool heads and being able to think under pressure. I have my broker's license. I've had it in 2 different states, and I've been examined in both states. And really, they throw out these convoluted scenarios, and they just want to see, can you slow down and think and come up, not with a perfect answer, but with the best answer of the options. And learning to slow down, there's rarely, it's rare that the solution doesn't present itself in your call.
Almost always does. Destiny, have you run into this yet?
All the time. Managing my emotions, I have learned really well to do. I've had sellers threaten, come get my sign. I am just done. This is not going the way we planned it. And just saying, hey, we're going to take 30 minutes to calm down. And then we're going to come back and revisit this. We're going to re-strategize. And so I think you have to come into, especially as a newer agent, come in with such a level of confidence, because the way I look at it is, from the moment you have that listing appointment or that buyer's consultation, they're putting their trust in you. They want to be led. They want you to tell them what to do, and you've got to have that confidence to display to them that you can get it done.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Again, I can't stress this hard enough. Buyers are going to freak out. They're under a lot of stress. Sellers are going to freak out. They're under a lot of stress. But they are paying you to manage their stress and to get things done. They don't want their realtor freaking out. They need their realtor to be calm, cool, and collected. To part 2 of maybe this thing is work the problem. This is how you remain calm. All right, there's an issue. Let's work the problem. I tell people all the time, they come into me, okay, this is what's going on. This is this and this and this. Okay, work the problem. Here's how I'm going to help you out here. Here's how you work the problem, guys. 1, write it down. If you can write down what the problem is, that means you understand it. Biggest part of most problem is you have no idea what the problem is, and you're just shooting in all directions. Just take a breath, calm down, work the problem. I got a poster on my wall that says work the problem. Okay, this is going on, this is going on, okay, good. Work the problem. What's the problem? Right? And they just come down.
Yeah.
You write it out. Give me 1 sentence. What's the problem? And then they get it, say, okay, how are we gonna do this? And they just start thinking through it. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this and then this. All right, go do that and let me know where you're at. And then I'll see you 2 weeks later. Hey, whatever happened that day? Oh yeah, that worked out. No big deal.
I've got a friend named Brian. He's made millions. Great businessman, great leader. And he always says, look, if you can punch it in the nose, it's not your problem.
Okay.
That person's not my problem. We have an issue that we get to come at, but align and come alongside. And if you need to grouse with your priest or your therapist. Do not grouse with your client about that. But if you can punch it in the nose, that's not your problem. There's an issue. Just got to resolve. Go, Destiny.
Well, I was going to say, you taught present options. So when there's a problem, giving that buyer, that seller, these are our options. This is what we can do. Which way do you want to go? But it doesn't back them into a corner and make them feel like they only have one choice. And then they end up making the choice on their own.
And best to give 3 options, because if you give 2, the brain goes binary, right, wrong. If you give 3, your brain looks for the best.
All right, I'm writing something. This is a big thing for realtors right here. Don't make your clients deal about you.
Boom.
Don't make your clients deal about you. I would never do that, or you should never do that. It's whatever. It's not your deal. Your clients are not telling you the full story. You don't know their background. And I've used this example before. You don't know if somebody's wife is dying of cancer and her only dream in life was to have a place at the beach before she died. And you'll do whatever you have to, even if it means overpaying. even if it means not asking for something you could or should get. You don't know, but they're not going to tell you that. They're just not. You don't know what's going on in the background. My daughter's sick. I need the proceeds from this sale. I don't care if I'm giving up 20 grand. I need the money, whatever. They're not going to tell you that. Mm-hmm. So, or you, oh, this is going to hurt my stats, or I wouldn't do that. If it was me, I'd ask for this. No, this is not your deal. Mm-hmm. This is not your deal. Now it's your ego. We all understand that. It's not your deal. So keep yourself out of it. Be the calming influence, and just ask for stuff. You'd be surprised, right? Does that make sense, guys?
Definitely.
Hey, if you guys are liking this content, do me a favor, right? Will you just like, comment, share? I don't know. What are you supposed to say, Mark? You got that.
Like, comment, share. Make sure you're following John so you get the notice every morning. We've got some regulars. I love seeing Jamie and John and Jesse and Kyle, just always here. And there's so many more. I see Julie, and I also see, where's our Navarre guy?
Kevin
Goolsby's always here.
Plus, it helps with my ego, to be honest.
Yeah. So please, you can, when it's done, just share it. Not because John wants the notoriety. No.
my ego likes it when we get a like.
No, we know that these are powerful messages that can inspire and help other people succeed. And together we all achieve more.
And I hope they do, because I do have a team that I manage on the daily. So these aren't things that I'm making up. These are real life situations. Now, I might embellish them a little bit. Also, I've had the benefit of some of the best coaching for 20 consecutive years in the country through different groups and whatnot. So, and we've done a few deals and things like that. So there is some info, and I'm quite confident. It's the same stuff I tell my people. It's the same. A lot of these these conversations are the pep talk I give myself each morning, because believe it or not, I need a kick in the ass every morning to get going. Not every morning is like, oh, thank goodness, what a great day for me, and I'm going to go change the world. No, mostly it's like, oh my Lord. All right. What are we doing? Let's get going, right? And you ramp it up. But usually by the time I get in the seat, I'm ready to go, and we're ready to talk. And by the time my people get into the office, we're ready to take on the day and make some good things happen. So I want to take some of that energy, that vibe, that whatever, and pass it on to y'all. So hopefully I can hear from you somewhere or sometime that, hey, I did the deal. I remained calm. I worked the problem. I asked and got all these things, right? And so every day we try to come up with something that moves the needle. I think we do. Mark has big insight. Destiny's coming at it from an active working agent. And then Julie's on here and some other folks that we have from time to time. So, yeah, if you got anything you want to talk about, let me know. Send me a text, send me an email, post it on here. If you're having specific issues, you can text me off or message me. I can't get to all of them, but I'll try to address them best I can. Does that seem like a fair thing?
Totally fair. John, can I say something?
I wish you would. Keep it.
I have found with the new NAR settlement that, standard, well, I can't say standard, but it's common that sellers are offering 2%. And I believe a lot of realtors are just going to settle for that 2%. And you talked about asking. It's okay to ask for the 3%. It's okay to ask for that extra 1%, whether it's from them or from your buyer. I did it and it resulted in an extra $6,000. I'll take it.
Tell us that quick story so you guys understand. This is important. We ask for 3 every time.
Yeah.
Even if they're only paying 2 on our thing, we ask for 3.
Right. So I had a buyer's agreement with my buyers. We had a consultation for 3%. Sellers were offering 2%. I asked the realtor if she wanted to go in 50-50 to bring it to 3%. She said she couldn't because she was already paying a referral fee. Totally understand. Talk to the buyers. We've got some options. Again, presented those options to them. They agreed to pay the extra 1%. And the way we did it was presenting it straight to title. So that way it's not convoluted in the deal at all, but title will then take care of it. And that extra.
Okay, hold on. Let's pretend I'm stupid. How much? You are a buyer or seller?
I'm working with the buyers.
You're working with the buyers. Seller is paying out. How much are you getting paid from the buyer?
From the buyer, a total of 1%.
The buyer said they'd pay you how much?
3% on the
3%.
buyer's agreement.
The seller said 2%.
Correct.
Okay. So the buyer's paying you 3, the seller's paying you 2. And what
No.
happened?
No, the buyer is paying me that 1% difference to make up to total 3% total.
So the buyer, your buyer, the
Mhm.
buyer you're working with, representing, agreed to pay you the extra 1%
Correct.
because you asked for it.
Because I asked.
Nice. Good
So
for
just
you.
ask.
Just ask.
Mhm.
Right.
And I'm going to say, ask, and she brought value and got them into the house.
Well, it's easier to say yes if you're bringing value.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Some people just ask for the sake of asking, even though they haven't done anything, which I guess is something. But if you're bringing value, all of a sudden, good things happen for you.
Mhm.
Right. So let's go back here. I'm going to just ask how are you going to win the day? Let's talk about it real quick and we'll get out of here. Just ask. Okay. Be the calming influence. Work the problem. Don't make it about you. If you guys follow those little rules, good times are coming for you. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
That's it.
All right. Last rule is let's go to work. Okay. Hard to do things without working. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
Bye.